Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this image. This image just illustrates what can be done with a few everyday items and a bit of creativity. Even the light table used for this shot started life as an old fish tank. The image also demonstrates selective focus, achieved with a tilt-shift lens. Okay, so starting with the light table, as I mentioned, it starts off as this fish tank. So what I'm going to do is just add a few bits of card to this tank. So basically, I'm just putting a piece of card in the bottom of the tank, like this. Then I have another piece here, which I'm going to use as a reflector. So it's going at about 45 degrees, just across the tank, like that. So if we put a flash here somewhere, then it will bounce off this up into the top here. And just to finish it off, just have another piece of card which I've just cut to fit on the top here, like that. So with all those bits in place, if I just turn that over, that now forms a good light table. So I'm just going to put a piece of this drafting film just on the top, just to finish it off, like that. That should now give us a very even illumination of this surface. So for the shot that I have in mind for this video, I need a piece of perforated aluminium, which I just have here. This is available from all sorts of DIY shops, that sort of place. So we'll just pop that on there. And on here I have the subject, which is a spanner and some nuts and bolts and things, and we'll arrange those as the video goes on. Right, so with that in place, it's probably time to set the camera up. This is the camera that I've got set up here. I've got it on this tripod with a center column, so I can accurately adjust the height. And on the front of the camera here, I have this 24mm tilt-shift lens. You can see all the various controls and things on it. And in the fullness of time, as the video goes on, I will demonstrate just how that can be used to shift the focus range in all sorts of different planes. If you don't have one of these, then you can do most of this with just a normal 24mm lens, although at this sort of focusing distance you may need an extension tube. Now I've got the whole thing arranged in a very compact manner because I want to introduce a little bit of distortion from the wide-angle lens being very close to the subject. Okay, so that's it for the lens. On the top of the camera here I have a flash sync trigger, and this is also able to control the energy in the studio flashes that I'll be using. The camera itself is tethered into Capture One software. Okay, so we'll just turn the camera on. There we go. Now the settings that I have on the camera at the moment is the camera is in full manual mode. I've set the ISO to 200 and I'm using a shutter speed of 1/50th of a second with an aperture of 5.6. So with those settings, what I'm going to do is just take a picture to start with, and we'll just have a look and see how much contamination we're getting from the house lights. Now you can see from this image that there is quite a lot of contamination from the house lights, and I could change the shutter speed to 1/250th of a second, which is the flash sync speed for that camera. However, in the video a little later on, I'm going to be using live view. Now in order to make live view work, I'm going to need these settings. So I'm just going to leave that exactly as it is for the time being. So when it becomes time to take the proper captures, I will need to turn the house lights out. Okay, so with that experiment out of the way, it's time to set the first of the lights. Okay, so this is the studio flash that I'm going to be using today. This is a Profoto B1x. Although you can do this with continuous lights, an LED light table would negate the need to make your own light table like I've done with this fish tank. However, you do get an awful lot more control out of studio flash or even a flash gun speed light for that matter. One of the other advantages of using this type of flash is that it has a modelling light. So I'll be able to turn the modelling light on so I can actually see what I'm doing. So I'll just turn that on now, turn out the house lights, and just with an arbitrary energy set on the flash, I'll just take a test image. So there you go, you can see the result of our test image. It's a little bright, probably need to take the flash energy down by maybe 2 stops. So I'll just take 2 stops of energy out of that flash. 1, 2, like that, and we'll have another test. So there we are with that reduction in energy. That's getting to be about the right exposure, possibly still a little bright. But there again, I'm going to add this gel to the system to make the light appear blue. So I'm just going to add that to the front of this flash, like that. And again, with the house lights out, I'll take another image. There we are, that's starting to get there. That's coloured the image quite nicely. And I think the focus point is in about the right place for the time being anyway. In the original image that I showed at the beginning of the video, you can see some yellow highlights on the edge of the spanner. Now that was achieved by having a large diffusion sheet across the top here and then another studio flash above that. By doing it that way, you can control exactly where the highlight will appear within the subject. Okay, so I've got all that set now. This is a 1/4 stop silk, but you can use virtually any diffuser. It's just that this is what I have to hand and works very well for this sort of application. And then at the top here, on this boom arm, I have another Profoto B1x studio flash, and this is what will have eventually a yellow gel on it in order to colour the light. But just to start with, just to show how it works, I'm just going to show it without any gels in place. And what we're going to do is turn the modelling light on this unit. And then I'm going to activate live view on the camera so that you can see how the highlights move as I move the flash. So with all that said, let's just turn the modelling light on that light, like that. And then I'll just set the camera to live view. So now that's activated, as I move the light, you should be able to see that the highlights will move in the subject. And there is very little movement in the actual light to give quite a huge difference in the way it looks on the image. So I think I'm going to settle on something like that. So with that light adjusted, I can dispense with the live view now, and we'll just grab another image. So I think initially that can come down by at least 3 stops, possibly need to adjust it after that once we have the gel in place. So I'll just take 3 stops off it, we'll fire that again. There we are, that's starting to get there. So now I'll just add this gel to the light, like so. And with the gel in place, we'll just fire that again. Okay, now we can see from this it's starting to work, but it's generally, I think, still a little bright. So I'm just going to take it down by another stop. There we are, that's better. So that's given us a reasonable image. Now with a normal 24mm lens, that's where you would leave it and you would stop at that point. But this isn't a normal 24mm lens, it's a shift lens. Therefore, I can tilt the plane of focus. So what I'm going to do is tilt it so that instead of having a plane of focus which is running along here, you can see that these holes are out of focus and these holes are out of focus, and all these ones on this straight line are in focus. I'm going to move it so that the focus runs along the side of this bolt and in front of the spanner. So in order to do that change, what I'm going to do is alter the alignment of the lens. So to show the effect of that, what I'm going to do is just go into live view, and with the house lights out, I'll adjust the lens, and you should be able to see that the plane of focus will move. There we go. So I'm just trying to get the bolt and the front of the spanner in focus at the same time, which is about there. So with no tilt on the lens, you end up with that image. And then with tilt on the lens, it needs to be about there somewhere, I think. Okay, so now I'll just stop the live view and we'll grab another image. There we are, and you can see the difference. If I go back to the original one and then come back to what we've got now, you can see all the threads on the bolt here, whereas on the other one they've all sort of merged into one another, and the holes in the plate here show the line of focus quite nicely, I think. So it's just another way of adding emphasis to different areas within your image. I think that's worked quite well. Now the whole focus can move backwards and forwards along that plane by moving the focus ring on the lens. If I just pop back into live view again, and now we just turn the focus ring on the lens, so that's brought the plane of focus further forwards, that's taking it further backwards, and that's putting it just on the bolt, which is where we want it. So with that adjusted, just take another image. There. And that's pretty good, I think. Okay, so I'm just going to put a mark on that one, and we'll use that as one of the images in post-production. Now I just want another image for post-production which doesn't have this light on at the top. So I'm just going to turn that one out, like that, and just take another image. There we are. That will allow me to add a blue background in effect to the main image. So we'll put a mark on that one as well. Okay, so with those images now captured, it's just time to go into Photoshop and do the post-production. So here we are in Photoshop, and this is our main image that we captured earlier, and this is the blue image which doesn't have the diffuse yellow top light. So the first thing that I would do is just make a stack of those two images, and I prefer to use the Photoshop method, so just go to File, come down to Scripts, and then just go down to Load Files into Stack. Just ask it to add the open files, and just click on OK. And there you go, we've now got a new file which is these two layers. So this is the main image and this is the blue image. Okay, so with the main one selected, I'm just going to add a layer mask to that. There we go. So with that layer mask now active, make sure that I've got black selected here. Just go and find a paintbrush. Just have a look at what size that is. There we are. And we'll just take down the background a bit, like so. There we are. And all this is doing is pulling in the underlying layer, this one. So if I just click on the visibility for that, that's what we had before, that's what we've got now. So it's just moving the emphasis a bit further forwards. Might just take that down a little bit around that bolt. Just like that. There we are. That's very good. So with that now done, I think the only other thing to do would be to look at a possible crop. So we'll just click on the crop tool. Now I'm picking my usual 16:9 because it fits the videos very well, but you can pick whatever suits your subject really. Now by holding down the Alt key, I can make it change its size from the center here. So holding down the Alt key and grabbing the handle, I can just bring that into about there somewhere. And now just move the image up in the frame. Something like that. There we go. That looks quite good. I'll just click on OK. And there we have it. That just shows what you can make out of a few everyday items and a bit of creativity, as we said at the beginning. And I think the shift in focus really does help the image, and you can see the detail that you're getting in the threads of the screw there. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed seeing how I made that image, and if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other images as they appear, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.